Hi, this video is to tell you about the self-assessment assignment. So this assignment is basically the same format as the first one. So check the assignment info sheet, but you're going to be making a 4 to 5 minute video. You're going to be posting that on YouTube. You're going to be copying the URL, posting it in Submit Assignments. The whole thing's worth 70 points, same as the first one. And it's due Friday the 13th of November, 11:59 p.m. Some general advice for this assignment. First of all, answer all 4 questions. Every year I have students that submit good answers to half of the assignment and then do terribly on the assignment because they didn't answer every question. So make sure you are answering all 4 questions. Roughly a minute on each, you can be flexible. Make sure that you're using that time well. Make notes for yourself at least, or a script if you prefer, or somewhere in between, and work from those. Another thing that you really don't want to be doing is reading the questions as you're making the video. Make sure you've read them in advance, you've thought about what you want to say to them. And, I'd recommend reading the questions right now as soon as you can. Even if you don't have time to actually make the video right now, read those questions, start thinking about them so you're ready to answer them when you get there. And also, don't waste time on repeating information that's in the questions. So you don't have to read them out. I know what the questions are. You don't have to include them on the video. Use your time well. And just in general, this assignment is quite open. You get to make a lot of choices here about what topics you're going to talk about, and pick ones that are good for you to demonstrate your knowledge, your understanding in the course, the things that are going best for you in terms of your understanding. This is kind of the opposite of a quiz or something where, I set the questions and you either have the knowledge or you don't. This, you get to show me what it is that you've understood. So pick things that you feel more confident talking about and that you feel like you have a lot to say about. Okay, so question number 1 is about intersectionality. First reminder, this is not the same thing as intersex. I'm not asking you if you are intersex in this question. It's about your intersecting identities, and that means everyone. Everyone has intersecting identities. Those may be identities of privilege, those may be identities of oppression, but we have them, they intersect, or it might be a mix. Also remember, when you're talking about intersectionality, you need to be talking about at least 2 identities, and for this assignment you probably don't want to talk about many more than that, maybe 3, but if you're just talking about one identity, you're not talking about intersectionality. It by definition requires you to talk about more than one. And the thing I want you to think about here is, how might your life be different if you had a different intersection of identities? So, for me, for example, I'm a disabled person. That's one of my identities. And I'm also middle class. I'm reasonably well off, was brought up in a well off family. And those identities intersect, right? So in lots of ways, I've been able to get resources to help me with my disability. I've been able to get access to healthcare, for example, right? While someone who had that same identity of me as being disabled, but who didn't have so that's an oppressed identity, right? But who didn't have the privilege that I have of being from a middle class background, right? So someone who was working class, who was poor and had disability, would have a different experience of their disability. Perhaps they wouldn't be able to get access to those resources. So that's an example of how 2 of my identities have intersected, and how my life might have been different if one of those identities had been different and the intersection had been different. So that's what you're going to talk about in this question. The second question is wide open. You can choose any other topic that we've talked about in class. It can be something from the materials, the readings, it can be something from the lectures, it can be from a class discussion. And you can just go through the weekly info sheets to see what topic you like. And you're going to talk about why you found that topic interesting, why that was the topic that you connected with. And, that might be a personal connection, an experience that you had that's important here. It might be kind of an intellectual, academic connection, something that, appeals to your interest in terms of how you're thinking about the world. And the important thing here is include some depth, right? If it's a topic that you're interested in, I want to see that you've thought about it, that you've thought about some of the complicated questions here. The thing I hope that I demonstrate in the way I talk about this subject is that a lot of the questions here are complicated. They don't have simple answers. There's a lot of different perspectives that are important to consider. So when you choose your topic, pick one that you can kind of explore some of those perspectives, right? Maybe there's a perspective that you don't agree with, but you think has, some good points that you want to think about. So that kind of show that depth of thinking about the topic to do well on this question. Okay, question number 3 is an applied concept. So what you're going to do here is you're going to find a news article from the past year, absolutely anything that happened. It can be, an important piece of international news. It can be something that happened in Terre Haute in your hometown, or it can be, celebrity news. It doesn't have entertainment news. It doesn't have to be, important, but something that happened in the real world. And then you're going to find a key term from the course. So if you look at every weekly info sheet, they have that list of key terms with definitions. And it should be a key term that is not used in the article you pick. And so what that means is it's not something obvious, right? So if this is a article about, gay rights, and they're talking about like gay people in the article, you can't use the key term gay, which, and the definition of it to talk about that applied concept. That's too obvious. I want one that you have to, think about. So for example, in that case, you might look at heteronormativity and how that applies, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to show me how understanding of that key term and that concept helps you understand the article better. It helps you understand the event it's about. I'm not talking so much about the article, I'm talking about the news event itself. So, what does that tell you? And, there's a number of different things it might help you with. What does it tell you about why it happened, about, what effects it might have on the world that this thing happened? You're going to look at how we can understand the world in a more complicated way, current events in a more complicated way, using the concepts, or using one of the concepts that we've learned about. And finally, you're going to do a plan for action. You're going to come up with something that you can do to help with a problem that we've talked about in the class. So a social justice issue, something that is wrong about the world that could be better, and how you can do something to help with it. Now, you don't actually have to do this thing. I'm not going to follow up and check, but I want you to think about what you could do to help with this problem. So obviously pick a problem that you care about, that you want to address. You can think about action at many different levels. It can be, national kind of electoral political action. It can be, local, so like say a student organization or like city council, that kind of level. Or it can be interpersonal. It can be just a way you're going to act differently in your personal life, how you're going to, act differently around your friends or your family or something like that. So this action can take place at a number of different kind of scales, something that can help. And you should be specific here, and specific about how you think it's going to help and what the action is that you're going to take, go into some a little bit of detail about exactly what that might look like. For these last two questions, we're looking at the ethics and social responsibility guidelines for the course. You can find those listed on the assignment info sheet. And so what you're kind of trying to show here is that you've thought about how you might apply the course material outside the course. So in the previous question, how can you apply the course material to understanding the news? In this question, how can you apply the course material to understanding how you might make the world a better place? So that's this assignment. I hope it's a fun one. I get a lot of great videos from this. I look forward to watching them. And of course, email me if you have any questions, and we'll have a chance in class to ask questions. Thank you.